Day 1 of learning how to use reference part 2. This is how I shade using pen fade brush. I refrain from using the blur tool on her face. So I do the color absorbing technique to blend. I'm also not good at using airbrush. And I feel lazy to keep on switching tools and brushes. So if you're lazy like me, I suggest sticking to this technique. I also lower the opacity of the brush to have good control of the strokes I'm making. In doing the highlights, I prefer to use the lightest shade of the color first before adding the white. Stared at my ugly whip for a second. To add the details on the iris, I absorb the darker color to make thin lines on the lighter part of the iris. Then I absorb the lighter color to draw lines on the darker part. To add some contrast, I'm drawing this reference on my own art style, by the way. I do not aim to achieve accuracy. Referring to the reference I'm using, just trying to somehow transform this picture into my style. Now getting back to coloring the eyes, because I'm very spontaneous. Now for the eyebrows. I'm tracing the sketch I made earlier in low opacity. Once I'm done tracing the sketch for the base color, I start to erase that part of the sketch. In doing the hair strands, I highly suggest doing this. It makes the tip of the strokes thinner and sharper. I often use this with dip pen hard. Now I'm making the small strands darker. Make sure not to cover the brown ones entirely. Look at how it becomes prettier. Now blurring the shadow. The blur of the shadow depends on how far it is from the object it came from, so this shadow of the tip of the chin must be the most blurry part. You can even see it in the reference that it is the most blurry part. Blurring the other parts of the body. I guess I'm done with the skin. For all the ones that I fear, I have no idea how to color the hair while using a reference. I feel like I want to procrastinate again.
1 hour later.
I realized I am still going to need to finish it. This won't get done by itself during my procrastination break. So during that time, I went to Facebook. I made a post to some Facebook groups to ask for a piece of advice on how to color the hair, and now I'm doing it. Now I just have to consider that wave thing I learned from science class and combine it with art. Since her hair is wavy, the crest of the wave must be the highlighted part, and the trough is the darker part. Also, looking from the reference, the left side of her hair is way darker than the right side, so I have to minimize the highlights on the left side. Lastly, the messy hair strands. Why do I feel like I forgot something on her face?